Welcome, friends, to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. I'm a retired New York City police detective with over 20 years' experience in the law enforcement field. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. Tonight, I just want to talk to you briefly. I'm not going to go into a deep dive into the Delphi, Indiana, a murder case of Libby and Abby, now over 5 years old. An arrest was announced on Friday. And I think it took everybody by surprise, but there was quite a bit of information going on back and forth on this case over the course of the 5.5 years that this has gone on since. You know, February 13th of 2017, we're all looking at videos shortly thereafter of a Snapchat capture by one of the girls of this man telling them to get down the hill. And Ed and I haven't covered this case at all. We have not covered it because it's been covered quite extensively over the course of time. But before we get into it, I want to say a special thank you to you, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all of the folks who positively engage in Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are so appreciative of all of you guys, the moderators, the replay viewers, the live chatters, the folks who leave comments down below in the comment section. You guys are what makes this a great place, and we give thanks and praise to you guys. So I tip my cap, even though I don't have a cap. I say thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you guys coming on in. So by a show of hands here, who has been watching the Delphi case, the Delphi Indiana case? By a show of hands, putting a 1 in the chat. Just let me know if you've been watching this case and following it closely. It's been going on for a really long time, and so many people cover it. So I just want to just get a little idea of how many folks have been following it. I think a lot of you have. There's my good friend Stacy, Soul for Music, sending out some gifted memberships. Thank you, Stacy, for gifting out those memberships and starting off this live stream. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship and your longtime support. All right. Looks like a lot of you guys have been following this thing. And, listen, Ed and I, we're going to cover Nothing But Love. Great to see you. Thank you for joining. Nikki Lee, Candy, Merv, Jean. Thank you for participating here in the live chat. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, Matty Boy Sully is here. Great to see everybody. Looks like everyone has been following this case. Now, I don't know if you've been following it very closely, but there's been numerous alleged perpetrators in this case that the Indiana, the authorities from Indiana have been working hard on this. And if you look at the police chief, he has been vocal in all of his press conferences about them never, ever giving up on this case. And 5.5 years later, the long arm of the law has reached out and made a collar. They made an arrest on Friday. We don't know much about what the charges are, what background on this perpetrator, but we do know that it's Richard Allen, 50 years old. They call him also known as Ricky Matthew Allen, a pharmacy tech, not confirmed by authorities, but he got his license a year after these murders took place in 2018. Pharmacy tech at CVS in the local community. And if you remember, if you've been following this case, the authorities always said that this perpetrator is walking amongst us. And that caused a lot of community unrest. a lot of community unrest. So, think about living in a community where two young girls, 13 and 14 years old, Abby Williams, the only daughter of Anna Williams, and LibbyGerman, just go out on a day that they had off and then just poof, disappear. It's just mind-boggling, and it's enough to cause community unrest. And it has over these 5.5 years. So I want to play a quick piece. This is going to give you a timeline dating from February 13th, 2017 to fast forward to today. So I'm going to play this quick timeline. It's well put together, and it's by a media outlet that is local over there. So let me just share this with you guys, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about this.
Valentine's Day, the day before Valentine's Day, a day that would leave two families mourning, a community frightened, and investigators puzzled for years to come. It was on that cold Monday that 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old LibbyGerman went to the Monon High Bridge in Delphi. The young teen girls had the day off from school. They were dropped off, then disappeared. A search would discover their tragic end the next day. Their bodies discovered in a wooded area not far from that bridge along the banks of Deer Creek. What we would all soon learn is that Libby, in those terrifying moments, captured evidence that would help police in the search for the killer. On February 15th, 2017, police released cell phone images from Libby's phone showing a suspect in the case coming across the bridge toward the girls. A week later, police released audio from Libby's phone.
As 13 News reported on the case, we spoke with Ronald Logan, the man who lives at the property where the girls were found.
Has this gotten to you? Has this played on your mind?
Yeah, the longer it goes, yes, it does. Yeah, it's. I'm not sure I fully comprehend what all's happened yet. Two young kids playing, thinking they're having a wonderful day, Valentine's Day, and ends up in one of the largest tragedies in Carroll County history.
In your backyard?
In my backyard. Yeah, it's a big thought. Okay. Not a good one.
Turns out the FBI was also talking to Logan. An agent at the time noted that Logan's voice was not inconsistent with that of the voice captured on German's phone. The FBI notes an interview with Logan's relative in which the relative tells the agent that Logan called them the morning of February 14th, 2017, and asked them to lie about where he had been the previous afternoon. That was before the bodies of the girls were found. 13 News was there as Logan's home was searched.
More than a dozen investigators worked for hours, searching Ron Logan's home, his garage, barns, and property. They are looking for clues to whether Logan is connected to the murders.
Basically, we're trying to either clear him or look at him even harder. That's what we're trying to do here.
Abby Williams and LibbyGerman were found murdered on Logan's property. Days later, he walked us to the secluded crime scene, appearing shaken by what occurred here.
I can't really wrap my emotions around it. It's just so mind-boggling.
Later, when someone used social media claiming Logan resembles investigators' prime suspect, the 77-year-old was understandably angry.
I was cleared by the authorities ages ago.
Since then, investigators received new leads and found new information, prompting the search and putting new attention on Logan.
As we have gone into the investigation and have talked to other people, things are just not adding up, and we're just trying to get things added up.
Police arrested Logan earlier this week on a probation violation. He has numerous drunk driving convictions. He's being held without bond. Investigators searched with the help of a canine. They carried away armloads of potential evidence and seized Logan's truck. Police, though, warned against rushing to any conclusions.
This is part of the investigation. This is not our first search warrant. We've done several others other than this residence. We've done some polygraphs. We've done all kinds of things to other people.
In citing reasons for the search warrant, the FBI agent noted that pieces of clothing from one of the victims were missing and that it appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. There were no visible signs of a struggle or fight. Investigators recovered fibers and unidentified hairs at the crime scene. The agent also suspected a souvenir had been taken by the killer and that it was common for perpetrators to memorialize the crime scene with pictures. It's not clear if anything was found in Logan's home, but he was never arrested before he died in 2020.
On July 17th of 2017, police released their first sketch of the suspect. They had received thousands of tips and were working through them. But as the months passed and years passed, this case went quiet. That was until April 2019. That's when a new sketch of the suspect was released, and additional audio of the suspected killer from Libby's phone emerged. Again, tips came flooding in. The families of the girls and that community in Delphi were hopeful it would finally lead to a break in the case. But again, days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and months into years with no arrest and sadly no answers.
Then, nearly 5 years after the murders on December 6th of 2021, police asked who had communicated with the social media account of the name Anthony Schatz. A flurry of activity took place then. The images in the accounts were those of a male model. The account itself belonged to a man from Miami County. He lived just over 30 minutes from Delphi. Police said Keegan Kline admitted to creating the account to solicit nude images from underage girls.
Tell me about Anthony Schatz. Why did you create that profile?
I don't really know. I was just
This guy, I mean, I got to stop it here because every time I hear this guy speak, again, he just reeks of being a creep, being a little pedo kind of guy. But, you know, there is question of some connection between our perp that's locked up now, Richard Allen, and this Anthony Schatz, Keegan Kline dude, because it's alleged and it's not confirmed. Hopefully we'll hear something more about this in the future, that our perp that's arrested in custody right now, Richard Allen, had command and control over or shared use of this online account. So that, you know, tells, that reeks of co-conspirators, some type of connection, but I wasn't able to definitively find out anything from the authorities where that's confirmed. I think that's kind of online stuff. But let's let the rest of this play. This is the most comprehensive overview. And again, this video is not a deep dive in this case, but this is a good comprehensive overview, and that's why I'm playing it for you.
lonely, you know what I mean?
Kline admitted to creating the account to solicit nude images from underage girls.
Tell me about Anthony Schatz. Why did you create that profile?
I don't really know. I was just lonely, you know what I mean? Just talking to people. I don't know why I did it.
But Kline said he was not trying to meet any of those girls in real life. Kline also said that police told him his Anthony Schatz account was the last to communicate with German before her murder. Turns out, police had served a search warrant on Kline's home in 2017, just days after the girls' bodies were found. It was for a child exploitation and child pornography case.
And so are you aware whether you may have talked to Libby on the 13th?
That's what they said. That's what the police told me.
That you did?
Yeah.
And do you have any recollection of that?
No, not at all.
Have
I've
you,
told them 100 times I've done everything they wanted me to, and it's like they're just harassing me.
Kline was charged August 29th, 2020 with 30 counts, including child exploitation, possession of child pornography, and obstruction of justice. He allegedly told investigators he would talk to girls using the Anthony Schatz account, even if they were under 16. He claimed to have received photos from all of the girls he chatted with. Investigators seized 6 devices from Kline, including smartphones, a tablet, and an iPod Touch. Police found sexual images of girls. Some appeared to be only 14 years old. And after being interviewed by police, Kline returned home. He later told police he found another phone and turned it over to them. Police said an examination showed someone had uninstalled and deleted Snapchat, Instagram, and Meet Me. The browser search history had also been deleted before the phone was turned into authorities. After several continuances, his jury trial was set for September of 2022 in the child pornography case. Kline has not been charged in the Delphi murders. He has not even been named a suspect. And so the families of LibbyGerman and Abby Williams wait for answers.
5 years. That's 1,825 days that have passed since the bodies of Abby Williams and LibbyGerman were found in the woods near Delphi.
They probably had you.
That's 43,800 hours. The people who loved them have had to wonder who the man is in this video. The man investigators say killed the girls and where he's at now.
I don't think anybody thought we'd be here at the spot at the 5-year mark with an unsolved case.
But that's where they are, despite thousands of tips, along with video and audio of the killer. Libby captured on her cell phone as the girls hiked on the Monon High Bridge Trail. Not to mention 2 different sketches released 2 years apart.
I think eventually what we'll be able to do is put the face of the murderer up in between those 2 sketches, and we'll be able to merge them together and become one.
Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter says he personally gets 25 to 30 tips a week that he forwards to investigators. Carter can't give a definitive timeline as to when the girls' families or the public will have answers or the justice they want.
What's important to me on the 5-year anniversary is that people know that we're continuing to full speed ahead.
It's frustrating. We all thought we would have answers 5 years ago, but we also know that law enforcement is doing absolutely everything they can and putting all of their time and effort into the case, and they want answers just as much as we do.
Both families have a mantra they've said since the beginning.
Today's the day.
5 years later, those words don't always come out as easily as they used to.
I mean, some days it's really hard, but yeah, we still keep positive that today could be the day and tomorrow could be the day and any day. We just have to keep being hopeful on that and have faith that it will be one day.
I know my grandparents say it every day. But for me, it's something that I say to reassure myself when I'm feeling frustrated, when I'm feeling like no answers are coming, and I'm feeling defeated. I say that. I say, today is the day, it's coming. It'll get here.
The question remains, when?
The community continues to rally in memory of the girls. A ballpark was built and dedicated in their names. Benefit rides are held to remember the girls and help with the upkeep of the park. And tips continue to come into police.
So there you have it, folks. I mean, you see the family members, the sister. It's just agonizing. 43,800 hours and then some since this heinous crime, this double murder took place, February 13th of 2017. And here we are, fast forward into October of 2022, and the wheels of justice, the long arm of the law, the wheels of justice are rolling. We heard the Indiana police superintendent. He keeps speaking about that they're never giving up on this case. And kudos to the men and women who are doing God's work, that are out there investigating this case behind the scenes and not leaking out pertinent information. Because, as we know, we could look at this Quentin Simon case and the buffoonery, the jagaloonism that's going on behind the scenes out in front of the only suspect that was named in the case, Leonie Simon. It's just bizarre. But I have to, circle back to these men and women in the police department and in the investigative team. They did such a great job over the years holding back information and not letting important information get out. And Ed Wallace and I are going to cover this case on the forensic side. And we're going to talk under no uncertain terms about how important it is to get DNA. Forensic evidence is what's going to be the key in getting a successful prosecution. I hope and pray that Richard Allen, all of his DNA or parts of his DNA, transfer DNA, hair fibers that you heard them talk about, that they collected, unknown hair fibers, different types of transfer DNA. We'll hear a lot about that in the Delphi case going forward. We're not going to hear about it soon. We won't hear about it on Monday, but when the trial commences, when they get an indictment after the charges are officially brought forward on this perpetrator, and they get the true bill indictment, which is the next step, and then it goes to trial. If he pleads not guilty, which most criminals plead not guilty, what do they have to lose, right? So he'll plead not guilty, and then a trial will commence, and they're going to have to bring all of this evidence forward, all of the evidence forward, and we're going to be privy to that. We will see it and hear about it when the trial commences. So again, there's so many people who are covering this case. I have so much stuff saved quickly on this. But I want to just play another little piece. It's from the same news group, but they do such a great job in giving you guys an overview. And I know that a lot of people join in late. A lot of people come into these live streams in the middle of it. But if you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon, I am a retired New York City police detective with 20 years of law enforcement experience. My partner, Ed Wallace, 24 years in the NYPD. He is a crime scene unit investigator, specialist, DNA, evidence collection specialist. We're going to speak in depth after Monday, after the press conference is released, and we have whatever information that they do release. We're going to go into how important it is to have proper evidence collection. I hope and pray on the day of the 14th, the next day after these two innocent young girls, Abby and Libby, were murdered, we hope that the next day on the 14th, when their remains, their bodies were recovered and found by searchers, we hope that the proper crime scene and evidence collection happened. Because if that was not done the right way, it's going to be difficult to get a guilty verdict at trial. So I'm confident that they did. In my research, it looked like everything was done pretty good, pretty well. So let me just play this piece for the new people that are just jumping in. I'll be right back to you guys.
Letting us in on this Friday night. Tomorrow, we're hoping to get new details about the man who was arrested today for the Delphi murders. This has been a day 5 years in the making, with so many of us waiting on some kind of answer. Right now, we know that Richard Allen is in the White County Jail, but we don't know on what specific criminal charges other than a connection to the murders of Abby Williams and LibbyGerman. And while we work to get more details, the community of Delphi and the families of Abby and Libby are holding their breath.
I don't know if this is going to bring closure for them or not. I hope it does. But how could it when you've lost your child? I don't think anything can bring closure to that.
So tonight we've got a lot of digging to do, from what's next in this investigation to the evolving search for a suspect over the last 5 years that has finally brought us here tonight, and what we know about this Richard Allen. Our Rachel Krause kicks off our coverage tonight with the new lead we just uncovered about how Richard Allen may have spent some time in Delphi.
After 5 years of watching and waiting, tonight the Delphi community is going to sleep, knowing an arrest has finally been made in the case. The suspect, Richard Allen of Delphi, now linked to the murders of Abby Williams and LibbyGerman.
It's been a long time, and I think most people are probably figuring they're never going to catch him unless they snag him for something else.
Around the tight-knit community of Delphi Friday night, there was a feeling of relief among many in town. After years of searching, Richard Allen is now in police custody for his alleged role in Abby and Libby's death.
It's a great day.
County property records show Allen lives along Whiteman Drive in Delphi. We knocked on Allen's door Friday afternoon. No one was home. Neighbors in the area confirm Allen lives there. saying they're shocked to hear of his arrest. We also checked Indiana's public licensing agency and found a Richard Matthew Allen with a pharmacy technician license. We searched online and found only one pharmacy in Delphi, the CVS off Main Street. When we called to see if Allen was employed there, they directed us to corporate, who hasn't called back. Bill Carbaugh, who lives near Deer Creek just outside Delphi, says he's spoken with many investigators on the case throughout the years about who could be behind the murders.
Oh yeah, they talked to many people. They talked to me, and I told them that when they find him, I think he'll be either local or he's been local because he knows the creek. He knew where to go.
While many around the Delphi community said Friday they didn't know Richard Allen, many now are feeling hopeful that with Allen's arrest, they'll soon have answers as to what happened to Abby and Libby and why.
There's a sigh of relief, but it's not over yet. So, he has to be formally charged and go to court before there's true justice. So we just have to hope that they have all the answers and it's going to hold.
I'm glad they got him. I'm glad that chapter is closed, and I hope they get him a trial and get it all over with as soon as possible.
More information about Allen and his connection to the murders of Abby and Libby is expected to come from police during a press conference Monday morning.
Over the last 5 years, the search for the suspect has evolved several times. It started the day after Libby and Abby were found murdered when we caught our first glimpse of the man in the blue jacket. A week later, another clue. The infamous words pulled from a recording on Libby's cell phone. Then, 5 months after the murders, we get our first sketch of the suspect. But this wouldn't be the only one. And in April of 2019, state police released a few more frames of the clip showing the man in the blue jacket, along with a slightly longer audio clip. Police also shared a new sketch of the suspect, but this raised eyebrows because you can see the stark difference between this one and the first one that we got. But this has been what we've been looking at the last 3 years as we search for answers.
When it comes to what actually happened to Abby and Libby back in 2017, we got our first new details about that just a few months ago. A search warrant in the case, leaked back in May, revealed new details about the crime scene. We know that one of the victims was missing a piece of clothing. There were no signs of a visible struggle or fight, and police recovered fibers and unidentified hairs from the scene. It also appeared the girls' bodies were moved or maybe even staged. But when it comes to the why and how, those are answers we're hoping that police can provide now that there's an arrest.
Over the last 5 years, the Delphi community.
Hey, I want to just say something here. If in fact the bodies were moved and staged, that's an actual good thing because the perpetrator had to have moved those bodies himself. So that's where transfer DNA and touch DNA and things of that nature come into play. So if in fact that is the case, that's a good thing. So we'll let the rest of this play.
They kept fighting to get the latest suspect information out any way they could. Back in 2019, Brad Heath started including flyers of the suspect and details about the murder in every online order he sends out from his e-commerce business.
They go all over the country. It only takes one flyer in the right hands that might get a tip to crack the case.
Community members also host annual events in honor of Abby and Libby to keep the girls' memories alive, like this food drive every February, helping food pantries and animal shelters.
If we weren't so resilient, if we weren't so positive, we weren't trying to make good out of a bad situation like this, that would show our children that, evil can win, right? And evil doesn't win. Evil never wins, right? Good always triumphs.
The girls' middle school also spent years packing Christmas boxes in Abby's honor, sending gifts to kids in impoverished countries. It was all organized by her mother, Anna, as a way to keep their old family traditions alive.
This was a project that Abby and I did together, and she really enjoyed it. So it was just kind of something important to me to keep doing in the future in her honor.
The community also dedicated a park in Abby and Libby's honor off Hoosier Heartland Highway, about a mile north of the city, never giving up hope that police would finally find the suspect.
So when it comes to what's next, here's what we know. Police are planning another announcement Monday at 10 a.m.
I will cover that live, the press conference Monday, 10 a.m. Not sure exactly what we'll get from this press conference, but I'm sure it will be just the basics. They're not going to show their cards. They're not going to expose evidence. They're not going to talk about what led them to this arrest. They're not going to release really important things that are instrumental in a successful prosecution.
And during that discussion, we're hoping to learn what led police to Allen. Was he among the thousands of tips that they've received over the last 5 years? Was he a suspect from the start? And what evidence ties him to the scene and the murders of Abby and Libby? We'll be at that announcement Monday morning.
I'm going to leave these things up on here. They may talk about if it came from some of the tips. That won't hurt. Was he always a suspect? That may or may not hurt the case, but what evidence led to him is going to be something that they're not going to put that out. So I'll let this woman speak the rest. This is almost over.
Get answers to as many questions as we can. And we're going to bring it to you live. You can watch it here on 13.
All right, so that's all we got in regards to that. But I just want to say this. Listen, I want to say thank you to everybody on Facebook and Twitter and here on YouTube for watching. If you can, just take a moment to hit the thumbs up button. It's free to do it. It's also free to hit the red subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. So this way you'll get our updates when we start speaking and covering this case as it develops, because now it's the wheels of justice are in motion, and it's important that we guide you guys step by step when we are talking and when we start having conversations about the judicial process and what's next. I am hoping and praying for a successful prosecution. I'm hoping and praying that Richard Allen is the perp that is responsible and that they'll be able to prove. Now, don't forget, the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Richard Allen is the sole person who's responsible for the deaths of Abby and Libby here. So it's important that we get to the bottom of this and make sure everything else is ruled out. And listen, multiple perpetrators were named. Multiple people were named along the way. Too many for me to go into here tonight. But I did want to tell you that, listen, there's just so much that's going to be unfolding and so much to unpack in this case. It's going to be kind of mind-blowing for you. But we are definitely going to cover quite a bit of this from the forensic side, but we're also going to cover from the judicial side. What are the next steps? So let me just say hello to Brenda Redmond. Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate you. Much respect. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, Harlem Raiders, is here. Retired NYPD Lieutenant. Dawn Marie, thank you for being here and moderating. Alicia B is here. Karen, Legal Minded Friends. That's our attorney from the UK. Thank you, Karen. Phil Leo, always great to see you. And thank you to the Facebook groups and the Twitter groups who are tuning in here tonight. I want to just tip my cap to a couple of the YouTubers who are covering this. There's so many true crime podcasts that are out there, many folks. But I came across a guy, Tom Webster. Now, he doesn't have a huge online footprint, a large YouTube channel, but some of the smaller YouTube channels are some of the folks who take the time to really do some research. And I've come to find out just by chance. Nobody recommended him to me. I just stumbled across him. He has been doing a lot of coverage. And again, his name is straight out. His YouTube channel, I'll link it down below in the description. His YouTube channel is called Tom Webster. I said Weber. I apologize, Tom. Tom Webster, like Webster Dictionary. So he has been covering this like for a long time, and he does some 2 and 3 and 4 hour live events. He does uploads, but he did a 6 or 7 minute video the other day, and I came across the video, and I was so impressed with it. There's some humor to it, like he throws a little humor into it. So just disregard. Well, don't disregard the humor. He puts a little bit of to get off of such, this is such a tough topic to talk about. So in some parts of this video, you'll hear him do some dry humor. I just want you guys to hear this, and I'll link his channel down below. But I thought that the 7 minutes that he put together the other night, I think it was Friday night, and he uploaded it. And he's also going to be covering the news conference, not live, but he's going to be doing it Monday night, I think at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern. Ed and I will probably be live at 9, so we won't interfere with his coverage. But I'm going to play what he did. Wisdom of the Owl. Thank you for becoming a channel member. I greatly appreciate that. Hi, Dr. Ed and Julie. Great to see you. And listen, it's Saturday night. I hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday night. And it's good to see you all here. So thank you for joining. All right, I'm going to play this. This is Tom Webster. You let me know what you think of it. But let's put it on the screen and let's let it rip. So he starts out with man booked into Carroll County Jail in connection with the Delphi murders. It's just a news article, but this is how he starts off the video, and he talks a little bit. So let me go from the beginning. And this is Tom Webster.
So today was finally a great day in the Delphi murders case. Finally, it seems like somebody has been arrested in close connection with the murders of Abby and Libby. He's 50 years old. Let me just say, a lot of this is just rumor, so don't quote me. You know I made a PowerPoint slide. So his name is Richard Matthew Allen. He goes by Ricky. His date of birth is September 9th, 1972. So he's 50 years old now. So he was in his mid-40s at the time of the murders. The initial police sketches said they were looking for somebody 18 to 40 years old. I looked at online records, and he bought his current house in October 2006. There is online speculation that he may have previously lived in Peru, which is where Tony and Keegan Kline live. And apparently at one point he had a P.O. box in Peru. Currently he works at the Delphi CVS drugstore, and some locals are saying that he rang them up, which is kind of eerie to think that Libby and Abby's family members go to that CVS and they've been rung up by the guy who killed their daughters and their granddaughters and their sister. Some people online said they found his pharmaceutical tech certification, but it wasn't dated until after 2018, which was after the murders. So it's unclear how long he worked at that CVS drugstore. It was mentioned online that he has a weapons permit. There's been speculation in the past that the killer used a gun to intimidate the girls to go down the hill. His bond is set at $20 million, so his ass ain't going anywhere. One online document said that he might be using an alias, Craig Ross Renfro. And I know that Craig there with an H at the end seems odd to me. I've never seen it spelled that way, but apparently some people are saying that is the name of a real guy in Indiana. But Ricky may have stolen his identity or name online in some form. I'm going to do a face, body, voice, and clothing comparison to the guy on the bridge. And it makes you wonder, like, how did his wife, kids, and neighbors not recognize his voice? To me, when I matched it up to the killers, it's not totally obvious that it is his. But you would think his family would recognize his clothes. Here is a map of Delphi, and at the bottom here is his.
Yeah, this was good. I thought that this was really interesting because this is his house down here in the red, Ricky Allen's house, right? Up here to the left, where my mouse is going, is the CVS where he worked at. Up until his arrest, it's alleged. And then if you go along this route up over here where it says Monon High Bridge, this is the location where the murders took place, somewhere around here, a little bit off to the right, the bridge, I believe. So somewhere over here. But this is a good depiction and a map, an overview of this area. So I'm going to leave it up here just for another minute so you guys can just take a peek at it. And I'll let Tom speak more.
A map of Delphi, and at the bottom here is his. I think his family would recognize his clothes. Here is a map of Delphi, and at the bottom here is his house. On the right here, where it says 25, that is Hoosier Heartland Highway. Over here is the Monon High Bridge where the girls crossed and they were killed up over here. On the left here is CVS drugstore where Ricky Allen worked. I'm going to scroll through a few photos I found on his wife's Facebook. As you can see, his eyes are kind of light, and one of the witnesses...
Now, these photos are pretty interesting, but they're on his wife's Facebook. So these are public photos. The police didn't release these photos. This is not by law enforcement. And this, again, this is available to anybody in the general public. So Tom went out and got this stuff. I'm sure that a lot of other people have looked at it. But I just want you guys to know that this is publicly available photos from Facebook, Fakebook.
I'm going to scroll through a few photos I found on his wife's Facebook. As you can see, his eyes are kind of light, and one of the witnesses apparently said that the killer did not have blue eyes. I never came across a picture really where this guy is smiling or showing his teeth, so at least hopefully he's been miserable.
There's a little more humor. I enjoy that kind of dry humor. That's the second one that he did on this. So kudos to you, Tom.
This is just a screen capture I took of a video that his wife posted on Facebook. In pretty much every picture, he does have a mustache and goatee, which lines up with what witnesses said on the trails, and you can kind of make out in the video. He seemed to always keep his hair very short. There was a lot of speculation looking at the video of the bridge guy if he had reddish hair or if he had bangs. I'm not 100% certain that this is him, but I think it is. Somebody said his wife posted this in December 2021. A local bar maybe was closing and people were posting comments. But if you look in the background, you can see that the younger guy sketch is at the same location where the killer apparently was. On the right here, I pasted the younger guy sketch just to confirm that it did match up to what is on this wall. It looks like he gained some weight since the murders.
Now, this is quite interesting that this guy who is now in handcuffs, who's in state lockup, they now transferred Ricky. They transferred Ricky to a state prison because they're worried that he's going to get killed in jail. So he couldn't stay in the county jail because it would have been too much work for the correction officers in the county lockup to ensure that this guy didn't get taken care of. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in that community. 5.5 years worth of frustration. But yeah, look, you know, a lot of perpetrators. I'm just going to come off the screen with this just for a second. A lot of perpetrators, and I'm going to tell you this. You know, this is a common practice. Most of us investigators do this, at least in the city, in New York City. When I would be at crime scenes, and you know, Sergeant Bill Cannon and I spoke about this many times. When I was at crime scenes, and back in the 90s, we didn't have like cell phones that took pictures, you know, that took good pictures, but we had Polaroid cameras, and the police department would provide us with these Polaroid cameras, and it would be, you know, unlimited amount of film. We'd have a whole bunch of film, and we'd have them in our cars. And I would snap Polaroid pictures of the crowds at crime scenes. Like if there was someone shot out in the open, or there was a shooting outside of a housing apartment or a housing complex, and a crowd would gather, it was common knowledge that the police would always snap pictures of the crowd because the perpetrators would like to come back to the scene of the crime just to see what they did. And that's the interesting part about this, is here we have the person who is standing accused of murdering Abby and Libby with the sketch on his wall. And this is from his wife's Facebook. And it's almost like it's a trophy prize for him. So pretty interesting. I'm going to let the rest of this play.
The video of the bridge guy, if he had reddish hair or if he had bangs. I'm not 100% certain that this is him, but I think it is. Somebody said his wife posted this in December 2021. A local bar maybe was closing and people were posting comments. But if you look in the background, you can see that the younger guy sketch is at the same location where the killer apparently was. On the right here, I pasted the younger guy sketch just to confirm that it did match up to what is on this wall. It looks like he gained some weight since the murders, and some people may say that this coloring is reddish, but I don't know. This is from November 2016, 2.5 months before the murders, and you can see that he does not have any facial hair. Looking at this, I thought, wait, is this the right guy? But apparently online, Libby's aunt confirmed that this is him. If it's not the right guy, oops, I'll delete this. This is a screen capture of his wife.
There's humor number 3 from Tom. Laugh and humor number 3. I appreciate this guy's genuine, just straightforward. He's telling you as he sees it. So I kind of like the way this guy did this video. I really didn't watch any of his others, but I watched this one and I liked it. And I spoke to him on Instagram and he gave me permission to use it. I'm not one of these, I'm not one of these SOBs that will just take somebody's video and just start playing it. I asked him for permission and he granted permission. Like, he was really cool. So kudos to Tom. Wowsy Pony. Yeah. I mean, that's just one of the common tricks of the trade. And we would capture on our cameras, taking pictures of the crowds, perpetrators. It didn't happen all the time, but it definitely happened. All right, let's let the rest of Tom's video play. I am going to link his channel down below in the description so you guys can all go over and subscribe to him if this is stuff that you like. But he has done, he has produced many videos on the Delphi murders. So definitely he's got a lot of stuff there. So I just didn't watch it yet. I will probably go and watch some of it.
Kind of sneaking up on him as he sat in a car in a parking. Right guy. Oops, I'll delete this. This is a screen capture of his wife kind of sneaking up on him as he sat in a car in a parking lot, also in late 2016. And it seems like he is wearing a blue jacket. It's impossible to tell if it's the same blue jacket that kind of sneaking up on him as he sat in a car in a parking lot, also in late 2016. And it seems like he is wearing a blue jacket. It's impossible to tell if it's the same blue jacket that the killer was wearing, but that was just something I noticed.
These are some cool comparisons he does after this. You got to watch this.
Here is a full body shot of him standing up in late 2016. Some people online said his booking information said he's 5'4". If you're familiar with the case, you remember that one of the teenage girls who said she was a witness to him said that she is 5'6", and that when he walked by her, he looked to be around her height, possibly an inch taller. I found this photo of him playing pool, and obviously what stood out is this beanie from before the murders, which has the darkish green color that kind of matched up to what the killer was wearing. But I don't think this style really matches up to what the killer was wearing. I made this comparison with the young and the old sketches. If I was his wife, I would say that does not look like my husband, and that does not look like him either, obviously. So you can't really fault her for not turning him in. I made this body comparison of the guy on the bridge with Ricky Allen on the left.
I thought this was cool that he did this because this gives you a good, and this was just uploaded on Friday night. So, this was breaking news on Friday and pretty much Friday night he put this out. So this was a great, I thought, 7 minutes and 42 seconds. Some might beg to differ with me, but I thought that he really did a good job here putting this together real quick. So again, I tip my cap to you, Tom.
On the right here is a picture his wife posted on one of their trips. He seemed to ignore her a lot, to be honest.
Chuckle number 5, either 4 or 5. That was a good one.
And now I guess she'll ignore him. On the right here is a picture his wife posted on one of their trips. He seemed to ignore her a lot, to be honest. And now I guess she'll ignore him. So I resized each one of these to match up his feet and his head to the bridge guy. Honestly, I can't say that this reveals anything. So
Another one.
Showing it.
Another one.
I tried to make this comparison of his face compared to the bridge guy. Obviously, looking at the video, we have this one face on the left, which looks pretty crazy with like a big Jean Shalit mustache.
See, now I see, and I'm not an expert at this. I'm gonna try to get Steve Mancusi, our NYPD forensic artist. And by a show of hands, does anybody that's here remember he came on for Orrin and Orson West and Searing Classic? Anybody by a show of hands remember Steve Mancusi? He came on and he talked about the photos and how they do the forensic artwork and the drawings of perpetrators. I'm going to get him back on to compare these photos. But here, because it's so grainy, the picture of the bridge guy, and that green beanie, this is reminiscent of that color, but just not that style. Yeah, Steve was great. But the facial hair and the goatee is pretty, you could see, a mustache clearly, right? Let me know if I'm off base in the chat. But right here, you see the mustache. And here his goatee has got white in it, right? This is a picture of our perpetrator in custody, Richard Allen. And here next to it, the bridge guy has the dark goatee, the dark mustache, and then the salt and pepper down where my mouse is. And let me know if I'm off on that. I mean, this is a very grainy photo and it's hard to see it in this shot, but I see what I see right here. And kudos again to Tom for putting this head shot close to this one, because you see the salt and pepper grain in his goatee. And, if it's enhanced, maybe. If it's enhanced and we see it better, then, but still.
Over here, it looks like a younger guy to me. Can I say that any of these really match up? And why are you showing it? I tried to make this comparison of his face compared to the bridge guy. Obviously, looking at the video, we have this one face on the left, which looks pretty crazy with like a big Jean Shalit mustache. Over here, it looks like a younger guy to me. Can I say that any of these really match up to this guy or this guy? No, I can't. Like I said before, here is this greenish hat that kind of matches up with this, but I don't think it's a perfect match. His wife posted on Facebook a video of them on a gondola or whatever this thing's called.
Ski lift. There you go.
And Ricky Allen talks a little bit, so I tried to increase the volume on his voice and compare it to the killer.
Down, we're going down. Shut up.
Yeah, he's going down.
Guys. Downhill.
Cable snap. There's the wheelchair coming up.
Guys.
Cable snap. There's the wheelchair coming up.
Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
If I'm being honest, it's not like a total match where I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely the guy. But obviously, like I've said before, if someone's trying to intimidate two teenage girls, the tone of his voice is going to be a lot different than if he's trying to get his wife to stop talking. And for people who did not see my first Delphi,
these are multiple. I think that was his sixth chuckle, and kudos. It really, it makes the video that much more enjoyable to watch, even though we're watching something about very serious topic. Two young girls, 13 and 14, murdered at the time. But he just has a really, a cool way of just mixing in a little bit of laughter and a little bit of, so Ed Wallace said something that was really important, and I'm trying to look for the comment, but it went by quickly. Where was it about the enhancement? Oh, here it is. So he says, Ed says, the feds have the technology to enhance these photos and to do the comparisons. Yeah, there you go. And they'll throw everything at this to, get to the end result, which is obviously a guilty verdict at a trial. So let's see what Tom has to say. This is wrapping up.
My video where I did an audio analysis in between guys and down the hill. I feel like there's a young girl's voice.
Downhill.
And the word I hear is an agitated person saying Libby. So I guess maybe Abby at one point may have said Libby. So police have really not released any concrete details about this guy, why he was charged, and what he was charged with. They scheduled a press conference for this Monday at 10 a.m. I will be doing a live chat Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, just to recap whatever is said at the press conference.
So there you have it. He's going to be live on Monday. Ed, well, I know myself, I'm going to be covering the press conference live because I want to hear what they have to say. And I believe that there'll be some family members there that'll be debriefed before the conference, before the news conference. I don't know if they'll make any statements or whatever. But you know, again, I thought that this was a good research. He labels this Delphi murderer arrested, Richard Allen, my research. So I'm going to show you his channel quickly, Tom Webster. So this is his channel. I am subscribed. Let me make sure I got the bell. Yep, I got it. Bell is rang to everything. So this is his channel. I'll link this down below after the live is over. Give me 15 or 20 minutes to link it. I don't have it linked there right now, but I'm going to link it when I'm done here. So if you look at his stuff, hold on. So he's got, in his videos, he's got chats with Miss Kane and Kevin Greenlee. Those are the folks from the podcast that's been doing extensive coverage on this case. But if you could see, he does like office pranks. Here's another one about this case. So he's got quite a few. If you look at his playlists. So yeah, this is his channel. I encourage you guys to go on over there and check him on out. So pretty good stuff. So, you know, again, I only watched that one video and then I communicated with him on Instagram and he gave me permission. All right. So here's a Good Morning America. I'll play the Good Morning America. Hey guys, let me know in the chat by a show of hands, you know, do you feel confident that law enforcement, the Indiana superintendent, we heard him talk, Carter, do you feel confident that Richard, aka Ricky Matthew Allen, is our guy? Let me know in the chat right now. And I love to do these polls. Let me know by putting a 1 if you feel that this is the guy, this is the bridge guy. Put a number 2 if you're not 100% sure. I want to just see how many people feel real confident that they got the guy 5.5 years later. And let's see who doesn't feel confident about it. So I see a lot of 1s. I see a couple of number 3s. There's always those jokers. You jokers. Oh, let me tell you, this is what I got to say about you jokers that put number 3 in the chat.
Oh, hell no.
That's what I say about you. The 1s outweigh the 2s here, folks. The 1s outweigh the 2s. We will know on Monday more of what they have. But let me show you this Good Morning America piece. It's a real short one. Again, the 1s are definitely outweighing the 2s, no doubt. But the number 3s get oh hell no. Let's get this up and we'll rock and roll. This is from this morning. So this is the latest that I saved.
What appears to be a major break in the unsolved murder of 2 teenage girls. Their bodies found in Delphi, Indiana 5 years ago. Police reportedly set to make an arrest.
This morning, an update in a 5-year-old cold case involving the murder of 2 teenage girls in Delphi, Indiana. Sources tell our Indianapolis affiliate WRTV a suspect is now in custody, appearing in court Friday morning.
We've never forgotten them. Everybody's going to keep them in their minds forever.
The case, dating back to 2017, shrouded in mystery. Police released sketches of potential suspects in the murders of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old LibbyGerman. But up until this point, no charges.
How did this come to light almost 5 years after this crime was committed? Something broke in recent days, at least to the point that it gave them enough probable cause evidence to arrest this new person.
Williams and German disappeared while hiking in February of 2017. Authorities also discovered the teens took video of a man walking towards them. Investigators think the man in the video may have been involved in the murders. And now LibbyGerman's older sister tweeting, "Just know how grateful I am for all of you. Today is the day." Police are expected to provide an update Monday. The victims' families one step closer in their quest for closure years later.
That's what we just keep hoping for, is that that one small thing will come to light and that this will be over soon.
Yeah, and after years of waiting and countless questions, Indiana State Police are expected to reveal more information about this arrest, including the name of the suspect, on Monday.
Hi, everyone. So that's part of the coverage from Good Morning America this morning. Hey, I just want to say thank you, Just Larry, good friend from upstate New York. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Good to see you, Just Larry. I hope one day you could join us. I would love to have you on the show one day. Chime in on some of these cases. So Larry's a good dude, and he's been around since at least I've known him since the Gabby Petito case. Let me just say hello to everybody in the chat. And somebody asked me quickly, what do I think? And I feel confident that they would not go out and make this arrest. This police superintendent and all of the investigators that are involved in this case, as we see on a lot of these cases, are emotionally involved. They want to bring the perp or perpetrators to justice. So I would put a number 1 in the chat. I feel confident that they're not effing around here, and that they're not just trying to throw something up that will stick against the wall. They are, confident that they have all of the evidence that they need to get a true bill indictment, because he's going to be arraigned on his charges. He'll be arraigned on the charges, and then he will be brought before a grand jury for indictment. And when they get a true bill indictment where everybody agrees that, hey, this case can go forward, then it goes to a court proceeding. Run the World sends in a $20 super chat. She says, thanks, DutyRon, you're a class act. No, thank you. You are what makes this a great place. You and all of the great folks that are in the chat. So thank you for and thank you to everyone who is here. Again, if you're watching on the replay, I want to say thank you to the replay viewers. You guys are awesome as well. The people who question or send questions to Ed and I in the comment section down below, that's what makes this awesome. And if you hit some of the cards that I put up here and down here, those are some of the playlists that we have on some of the other cases. I would encourage you guys to go and check out some of the other lives. Diane B., that's my good friend and neighbor across the street. Always great to see you. So folks are sending in super chats just to say hi to Larry. DC Primetime, thank you for the $2 super chat. Hi, Larry. Good to see you again. Joseph 815 sends in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Joseph, for the support. Follow the green in your own wood. Interesting to know what led them to him, if it was the creep or not. Yeah. Rocky, always great to see you. Matty Boy Sully is here as well. Thank you for joining. Tom's channel will be linked down below in the description after the live is over. Promise. You guys will get to see it, but I got to link it after the video is over. All right. I have one more piece that I want to show you, and this one is kind of important because in this piece, they talk about online sleuthing and how it bogged down the investigators in this case. So this is from News Nation Prime. They did a special on the 5-year anniversary. So February 13th of 2022, this year, they did a 5 years later live, and it was one of their prime time broadcasts or segments and pieces that they do. But this thing is 42 minutes long, so I'm going to just link it in the description, but I encourage you to go and watch it, because when you watch this, they talked about taking investigators off of the case to follow up on leads from psychics and people who, and it's no, this is no slam to the psychic community, because trust me, I have Tori Hartman, who, is, she does that stuff, right? She's a tarot card reader. She's a good friend. And I don't like to kick anybody, because anybody that's trying to legitimately help, I love it. I think it's great. But the problem is that they talk about how, rumors and, wild accusations or suggestions of people that are involved, when in fact there's nothing to back it up. It's just somebody's thoughts and somebody's feelings. I got a feeling, or I had a dream. So each time that those calls come in, the investigators have to take those calls and have to follow up on them. So they talk about this in the piece. I'm going to link it in the description. It's too long for me to play. If we were going to do a long live stream, I would play it. But let's hold on. Let me take this off the screen. Stand by. But I want to play a little bit of court TV, because Vinny, our good Vinny Politan, he did a good piece on this, and I want you guys to watch it. Let me just make sure I got the right one. Yeah, this is pretty informative. I want you guys to listen to this and watch this for a second. I love Vinny and all the work that he does. He's an awesome dude, and he's into this, all the true crime cases. So, Rocky, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. Look, we could sit here all night and talk about how, things like this happen in every case, but they did make a mention of it, and it was unfortunate. All right, let's watch a little bit of this court TV stuff.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
We are following breaking news this hour out of the state of Indiana. An arrest that we've been waiting for 5 years, and the people in that state have been waiting for 5.5 years. An arrest in the Delphi murders, according to our affiliate WRTV. An individual in custody for the deaths of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old LibbyGerman. A news conference has been set for Monday at this point by Indiana State Police, presumably to update the public on the case. A case that a lot of you have been glued to for the last 5+ years after hearing about these two beautiful young teenagers' lives taken. The world's been watching this. The girls, you remember, went on a hike on February 13th, 2017 in a well-known locally wooded area in Delphi, Indiana. And the plan was for a family member to pick them up after their hike, their time together as teenagers in rural Indiana. But when it came time to pick the two girls up, they were not there. And of course, panic spread within the community. A massive search began. And the next morning, they found the girls' bodies less than a mile away. Investigators did recover the video that you're watching there of the individual that investigators believe to be responsible. Over the years, there's been extensive reporting on this. Thousands of tips, hundreds of interviews done by investigators, been podcasts. There's also been Vinny Politan, our lead anchor, who does a show every night here on Court TV and has followed this very closely. Your reaction, Vinny?
Well, today's the day. Today is the day. I mean, think about it. We're getting up to close to 6 years now, Ted. And at this moment, I want to think about what those two families are experiencing at this moment. They lost these girls 5+ years ago. And, every holiday, every birthday, every start of the school year, so many things they've lost. And then on top of it, they never got an answer. They never got a sense of justice. And Ted, and I know, when we speak with victims' families, they don't get closure, right? There's no closure. There's nothing that makes their lives anything close to what they were before. But when they don't even get justice. There is this emptiness, this darkness that is unmanageable. Not getting the answer and not getting a sense of justice. So now, with all of this happening now, there's one step closer. We know there's another huge step ahead here, right? Someone gets arrested and accused and charged. It's one thing, and then I think the family will take a deep breath and say, "Wow, this is." We didn't know if this day would ever come. But now that next part of the process begins, which we are very familiar with. And you know, and I look at this story, Ted, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of all the people that were looked at, all the people who looked suspicious, who act suspiciously. And I'm wondering, what on earth is this trial going to look like? You know, because what we're hearing is that the person who's arrested in all of this was completely under the radar. Completely under the radar. Meanwhile, we were talking about this one, that one, another one. This person under the radar. And I guess they have the evidence. I hope they have the evidence to link him, you know, to an extent that a jury's going to believe it. But this jury could be thrown a whole bunch of curveballs because of all the other suspicious people connected to these two girls and that area and what happened. So,
all right, let me just say something to this of what Vinny's saying. He's not off in what he's saying, but if they have substantial circumstantial evidence, DNA evidence, don't forget 2017, fast forward to 2022, almost 2023, the you know, the technology hasn't changed tremendously, but there's always there's 5 years of improvements in DNA and in evidence collection and evidence processing and so forth. So I'm certain that, you know, there's not going to be any confusion about all of the previous perpetrators that were tied into this case. As long as there is good solid evidence, good solid evidence collection at the scene, at the crime scene. That's where I keep my fingers crossed. And I did some reading that they did do a good job in evidence collection and recovery here. But what Vinny's saying is, you know, again, that's the worst case scenario. But I feel that we're not going to be looking at this. I think that they are confident and they have a lot more than what we know and what everyone is speculating on at this point. And up until now, 5.5 years, it's all been speculation because nothing from the case file was revealed. We don't even know the autopsy results, right? Hey, can anybody here in the chat tell us that they know definitively anything about the autopsies of both of these girls? Anything on tox? I haven't been able to find anything. Does anybody know? I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Larry says, not to mention that law enforcement never made any arrests for 5 years. They thoroughly investigated, and I feel that they have what they need. I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree with that. But again, I haven't seen anything from a forensic standpoint from the medical examiner's office. Nothing's been released. Yeah. Red Dirt Productions, first time seeing you in the chat. He or she says, no, they were tight-lipped, you know. Don, thank you. Thanks, DutyRon and all. Appreciate it. Yeah, so, I mean, everybody here that's been following it knows that nothing, ungats, a big round donut, nothing was released. And that's a good thing. Like, people would get pissed off about it and be like, how come they're not telling us anything? It's reasons like this, you know. Ed Wallace says, no, law enforcement, they held their info close to the vest. Yeah. And we're not used to that because a lot of times you get dribs and drabs. You get a cause and manner Cause and manner of death. I don't, do we know the cause and manner of death in both of these girls? No, we don't. We know that it's a homicide ×2, but we don't have that official information. Jennifer Nobles, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Always great to see Jen from Ground Zero, Bakersfield. So Deco Paint and T asks a tough question. DutyRon, why do they stage scenes? You know, to get into a mind of a murderer is a difficult thing, right? You have your FBI profilers, you have people who study, forensic psychologists that study these people, but, no two are the same. No two are the same. Let me just finish this piece on Court TV, and then we'll finish up here.
My head is spinning right now, Ted. I don't know if you can tell. To an extent that a jury's going to believe it, but this jury could be thrown a whole bunch of curveballs because of all the other suspicious people connected to these two girls and that area.
I don't agree with this because the jury has to be fair and impartial, and they're not able to go and look at all the previous people that were suspects and that were cleared or that killed themselves or that died. Juries get, and I'm sorry I keep stopping this, but juries get specific instructions from the judge. They are not, and anybody that's an attorney or a criminal defense attorney or in the field knows this, that juries are not allowed to sit and talk about past news events in regards to the case. They're only supposed to take what the prosecution gives them, what the defense attorneys give them, and take that information and put it together. So no, they're not going to be confused by past events because those past events are not going to probably be brought up. So I usually always agree with Vinny, but here I don't agree with. I think he's just trying to be sensationalized a little bit here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know what you think down below in the chat. Let me know what you think here in the live chat. I'll put it back.
Because of all the other under the radar. What we're hearing is that the person who maybe the person who's arrested in all of this was completely under the radar. Completely under the radar. Meanwhile, we were talking about this one, that one, the other one. This person under the radar. And I guess they have the evidence. I hope they have the evidence to link him, to an extent that a jury's going to believe it. But this jury could be thrown a whole bunch of curveballs because of all the other suspicious people connected to these two girls and that area and what happened. So my head is spinning right now, Ted. I don't know if you can tell, but it's spinning around. But at the outset, for the families finally to get closer to justice, but to get their answer, I think is an amazing day.
WRTV Scripps affiliate in Indianapolis is reporting that this individual made a court appearance today. Normally, a case like this, right now, we're showing a mugshot. We've got some information. Why do you think that this has been attempted to be kept under wraps until this press conference on Monday? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Any upside to not going public after you've made an arrest and a person's made an initial court appearance?
Well, no, because these types of things are public records, right? When you enter a courtroom and you're charged with a murder, I mean, that's all should be very, very public. It is consistent with the way investigators have communicated everything here publicly, right? They give us, like this video, they give us what is that, a half a second of video? They give us a second and a half of audio, 2 sketches that didn't look anything alike with no real explanation. This bizarre Anthony Schatz social media connection to all of this. lots of cryptic clues that were put out there for a purpose to help them solve the case. But they've also withheld an incredible amount of information to protect the investigation. But once you make the arrests, we're moving on to the next phase of this. As I said, we're in the next phase. So to me, I don't understand why, if this person has already appeared in court and already been charged, why that information was thrown under the radar. I do expect on Monday, though, a very full briefing. Very full briefing. It might be with, to respect the families as well. I don't know how quickly these things moved in the last few hours after almost 6 years, but sometimes it happens that way, and they want to get.
It won't be a full briefing. It will be the basics. I don't see it lasting long, and I don't think it's going to be a full briefing at all. We'll see. We'll see if I'm wrong or right. But I do not believe it's going to be a full and detailed briefing.
They want to do it the right way in light of the nature of this case being a little different than most. So I'm hoping that's the reason why, to prepare the family for all the information that is going to come out.
Yeah, Doug Carter, the superintendent of Indiana State Police, has been very vocal at times, but to your point, very tight with details. But there's always been a confidence that he's had publicly that we're going to get you. And here we are on this day. And it's a great point. It could be the family members. This could have been someone who was under surveillance, and there was a move on this individual, and they wanted to first tell the family rather than have them find out from their cell phones. Overall, this is a small town. So you talk about all those individuals who people were whispering about him. Hey, the guy looks kind of like the sketch. Their lives have been impacted. Anyone with a teenager's life has been impacted. I can imagine this is a huge sigh of relief coming from this part of rural Indiana.
Absolutely. Think about the fear factor in all of this. The person here is responsible for at least 2 murders and perhaps many others. You know, that's what you would be thinking, right? An attack like this. I'm not letting my teenage daughter or my teenage son out by themselves in this area or other areas where you should be able to do that, right? You should be able to, 13-year-olds should be able to go out with their friends and go for an innocent hike through the woods and go.
All right. So people are asking what's my thoughts on the Anthony Shots, Keegan Kline perp, right? I don't think he is involved in this. I think that the one and only sole perp is who they have in custody right now. And again, this case is so high profile and so involved. You heard the Indiana superintendent of the state police superintendent, Carter. We've heard him many times. I looked and reviewed in a very quick way all of his previous press conferences, and none of them offered anything major. He was tight-lipped. He kept stuff close to the vest like he's supposed to. He's an old school detective. He knows what needs to be done to get a successful prosecution. Arrest first, successful prosecution, and he's not going to F that up, right? So I think Keegan is a pedo, is a creepy weirdo, but I do not think he's I don't think that he murdered these 2 young girls. So you can agree to disagree with me. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right, but you guys asked me what I feel, but that's how I feel. Let me let the rest of this play because I wanted you guys to hear the rest of it.
Exploring, and you would be thinking, right? An attack like this. I'm not letting my teenage daughter or my teenage son out by themselves in this area or other areas where you should be able to do that, right? You should be able to, 13-year-olds should be able to go out with their friends and go for an innocent hike through the woods and go exploring and be able to go to the movies. But the incredible fear that must have surrounded to this day that community, because a killer was never caught. That means the killer was on the loose. Some people may believe that maybe the killer moved or died in the interim, but that does not appear to be the case. So I think it's a huge relief for the community as well. And I think at this press conference on Monday, I think enough information should be released in order to give the community a sense of, okay, this was someone perhaps, I don't know if he was acting by himself, acting in concert with someone else, but give us enough of the details so the community can say, okay, it's safer now than it was yesterday. Like, I feel safer today than I did yesterday because whoever attacked these two innocent young teenage girls is now in custody. So I think we'll get that type of information. I think we'll probably learn how they died, and that could be brutal information that, once that becomes public, it really will change the nature of everything here. So so much has been held back that despite the fact that we have all these clues like video, audio, and sketches of the alleged killer, we know very little about this case, amazingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will know because once this secondary process begins, it's no longer just the investigation. There has to be some information in the affidavits that are filed and all of it. So we'll know much.
Yes, there will be information in the affidavits filed, but what we'll get is we'll have to wait and see till 10 a.m. Monday morning. I don't question why they held on till 10 a.m. Monday morning. Most of the police professionals, the executives I'm talking about, most of the executives will be there on Monday. And, to have this presser over the weekend, you have to call people in on overtime and so forth. The district attorney will have to be there, and they're usually the executives. The district attorney's office is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and as is the police department. But the actual bigwigs, most of them have the weekends off, and that's how it goes. Don't kill the messenger. Don't come after me on it. But I'm just telling you how it is. So all the bigwigs who will want to be at a press conference of this magnitude are off on the weekends. So I sense that they're making this press conference for Monday morning because that's when everybody will be back into work, executive wise. So yeah, I mean, Ed's talking about the sketches. People are talking about a lot of different things in the chat. This again is not a deep dive into this case. This is a live stream to cover the arrest and apprehension of the alleged perpetrator who committed the crimes against Abby and Libby some 5.5 years ago. This February coming up in 2023 will be 6 years. So I'm happy and thrilled that they have a perpetrator in custody. I'm hoping and praying that they have solid evidence that links him beyond a reasonable doubt to the deaths, the murders of Abby and Libby on that fateful day. There's so many things out there. There's so many different curves to the timeline, but we basically know how and where this all started, right? On the bridge, there's video and thank God that she was able to take that video, because without that, it makes this case a lot more difficult. So I want to wish each and every one of you guys a good evening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to look at the chat real quick because I don't have all the answers, but I certainly want to look at the chat. Dr. Ed Moskowitz and Julie, thank you for the $20 super chat. I'm going to just look quickly. Teresa says, honestly, that bridge isn't well known. The law enforcement have said it's someone from the community because it's not well known. Yeah. Yeah. So they've been saying this all along. I listened to a couple of press conferences that the superintendent held, and he said, we know it's just a matter of time. We're going to get you. And it's somebody who was walking amongst them. And there's also people talking that this guy that's in custody right now participated in some of the searches or some of the events and gatherings that they had in the community. That's creepy in itself, right? So look, there's a question about Keegan Kline. Do you think Keegan Kline made a deal for less time and the river search led to the guy? It would just be speculation. I don't know. Like, I would just be guessing at that. Is that possible? Yeah. Is it probable? I don't know. Deals get cut all the time, but they're not going to cut this guy a deal if he in fact worked in concert with our perpetrator, Ricky, whatever you want to call this guy. If he worked in concert with Ricky, they're not cutting him a tremendous deal. They're not going to make a deal with somebody if he had something to do with these girls' murder. That's it. So I hope that this information that we put out here helps you with what's going on. This was not a deep dive into the Delphi murders. I just was covering the apprehension of the alleged perpetrator in this case, and that's Richard Allen, aka Ricky Matthew Allen, 50 years old, a pharmacy tech with CVS since 2018. That's a year after these murders happened. And the Carroll County jail is where he was, and then he was sent up to a state prison. And the prosecutor from, I believe, the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office or White County is the person who is charged with prosecuting this case, and he or she will be at that press conference. Guys and girls, over on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, in Twitter, and on LinkedIn, we're streaming live to all those platforms. If you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon, please go down, hit that red subscribe button. It's free. Consider becoming a channel member and a Patreon supporter. That's how we continue to do what we do day in and day out, through the great support of people like you. And I hope that each and every one of you guys and girls stay connected, stay engaged in the conversation, because Ed Wallace and I are going to continue this conversation. Hey, Nobi, I just want to say hello and thank you to you for sending your book. I have it behind me there. I have to show everybody that on one of my next live streams. I plan to do that. You sent me a message. Did you read the book? And my answer is, I read part of it. I'm being honest. I didn't read it all because my life is crazy right now, and I basically have limited time to just breathe. So my life has been like up and down with just being pulled in a whole lot of different directions. So I'm going to get to your book, and I'm going to show it at a great or appropriate time. Tonight I definitely didn't have the time to do it, but thank you for sending me that book. You're outside of the United States, and it was really an honor that you sent me that book, your book that you wrote. And I can't wait to show it to everybody on screen next time we get a chance to do that on a live stream. So thank you to everybody. While yet still today. Thanks, DutyRon, mods, and all. Good night. Yeah, so let's keep this thing. Again, I'm going to bring my laptop to the office Monday morning, 10 a.m. We're going to do the live stream. We're going to look at what the superintendent has to say. We'll bring that live to you. Thank you to the mod squad, to all of the replay viewers, and all the friends who positively engage here. You guys are what makes this place great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I always like to end these things, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. but especially these two victims here, Abby Williams and Libby German. We send their families strength, prayers, and positive vibes. They need us now more than ever to rally behind them and support them in a positive manner. And I think all of you guys here in the Crime Time with DutyRon community agree we do an unbelievable job of respecting the victims and their families. That's what makes this a unique place. Thank you all from New York City. See you on the next one. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. We'll see you soon. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon. Thank you.